Hello and welcome to SCTC News. I'm one of your hosts, Reese Sutton.
And your other host, Emmanuel Bio.
The past few days have been very eventful around the country and even more eventful in Fredericksburg. Two former Oklahoma County jail guards have pleaded no contest to a misdemeanor cruelty charge for forcing inmates to listen to Baby Shark as punishment. Gregory Cornell Butler Jr. and Christian Charles Miles were put on probation for 2 years and fined $200. They were also ordered to pay $300 in victims' compensation, complete 40 hours of community service, and were banned from working in law enforcement ever again. Both were charged after an investigation determined handcuffed inmates were forced to stand for long periods chained to a wall in the attorney visitation booth as discipline in 2019. A student from James Monroe High School was murdered, his killers later identified in what people are calling the Sunday slaying. 18-year-old high school student Jisiah Smith was found unresponsive in an empty parking lot with multiple gunshots to the back and later pronounced dead. 19-year-old Aaron Randolph Carter was charged with second-degree murder, while his 16-year-old juvenile accomplice was charged with first-degree murder.
4 Riverbend High School students were involved in a car accident, leaving 2 dead and 2 injured. This occurred at the intersection of River Road and Muscus Ridge Lane, when the driver lost control and crashed into a tree. The 4 teens were traveling eastbound when the driver passed 2 cars going at high speed and swerved. Sisters Dawn Donnelly and Alexis Scott were in the back seats when the car made an impact. When first responders came onto the scene, Donnelly was pronounced dead, and Scott was transported to Mary Washington Hospital, where she later died to her injuries. The front seat passenger, a 17-year-old girl from Caroline, has sustained non-life-threatening injuries, while the 18-year-old driver has been listed in critical condition. A shooting occurred in Nashville, Tennessee at the Christian Covenant School, killing 6, including 3 children. The shooter and former student, 28-year-old Audrey Hale, was gunned down by police during the encounter. Police say Hale illegally purchased 7 firearms and used 3 during the attack. Tennessee doesn't currently have a red flag law, allowing police to take away firearms from people who can be potentially dangerous. Hale has a history of being under care for an undisclosed emotional disorder. Although police have yet to find a motive, several writings by Hale mentioned the Covenant School and other locations. It's also been suspected that she held resentment towards the school for having to go there. President Joe Biden has made a statement condoning the attack and thanking the police officers involved for their bravery.
Hi, I'm Christopher Bussell with your Money Update. The U.S. Department of Labor says inflation slowed down last month with the drop in gas and grocery prices. However, rent prices went on the rise. Consumer prices are down 6% in February, while gas prices fell about 4% last month. According to AAA, nationally, regular unleaded gas averaged $3.60 a gallon, down from about $5 nationwide last June. Economists expect pump prices to trend higher again in coming months because of recent oil production cuts, keeping overall prices from falling. Also last month, reports show that job growth slowed as winter hiring spree lost steam, while high interest rates and inflation finally appeared to take a bigger toll on the labor market. U.S. employers added 236,000 jobs, a solid gain, but the weakest showing since December 2020. The unemployment rate, which is calculated from a separate survey, fell 0.1%. The unemployment rate for Black people fell sharply to 5%, a record low. For the first time since inflation began rising in mid-2021, restaurant prices outpaced grocery prices. This is a blow to the restaurant industry, which has seen lagging numbers as budget-conscious consumers cut back. For months, restaurant CEOs have touted their meals as a relative bargain compared to eating at home. March food prices rose 8.5% over the last 12 months, fueled by the jump in cost of eating away from home. Arkansas Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders signed a sweeping bill establishing a minimum age limit for social media usage. It requires companies operating social media to verify the ages of all new users. If the users are under 18, parental consent would be required before allowing them to create an account. Governor Sanders says, while social media can be a great tool, it can have a massive negative impact on our kids. The push by states to regulate social media comes after years of claims that it harms the well-being of users' mental health, particularly among teens.
2 teens who were trying to assault someone with a knife at a Stafford Chick-fil-A were being stopped by 3 Marines. The Marines saw one of the teens pull out a knife during an argument One of the Marines broke the knife in half in order to prevent it from being used, and the assailants fled. One of 3 involved in the fight reported that the other 2 had stolen his phone, but no one was stabbed. Inmates at a jail in Oklahoma filed a lawsuit, torture events, and excessive force because correction officers played Baby Shark on loops for hours. 2 inmates say that they were subject to punishment when they were forced to stand in stressed positions while listening to Baby Shark on repeat for hours. Inmates who filed a lawsuit say that the music was so loud that it reverberated down the halls. The officers who were allegedly involved are said to be known for mistreating inmates. Supporters and foes of former President Donald Trump faced off in a park in Lower Manhattan near the courthouse, where Trump was arraigned Tuesday afternoon on criminal charges. Trump has been charged with 34 felonies, and the supporters were kind of shocked to hear that he had those charges. The charges are related to falsifications of business records to the first degree. More than a dozen people were arrested after rowdy crowds from the University of Connecticut toppled lampposts and set fires following the school's victory Monday night in the NCAA men's basketball tournament. UConn defeated San Diego State 76-59. I'm Andrew Mount reporting.
American-made Patriot missiles have arrived in Ukraine. The country's defense minister said Wednesday, providing Kyiv with a long-sought new shield against the Russian airstrikes that have devastated cities and civilian infrastructure. The U.S. agreed in October to send the surface-to-air systems, which can target aircraft, cruise missiles, and shorter-range ballistic missiles, such as those that Russia has been used to bombard residential areas and the Ukrainian power grid. Today, our beautiful Ukrainian sky becomes more secure, Defense Minister Oleksiy Rezkinov said in a tweet. The missiles are the latest contribution from Western allies who have also pledged tanks, artillery, and some types of fighter jets as Ukraine gears up for an expected counteroffensive. A UNICEF report shows nearly 13 million children missed 1 or more vaccinations in Africa between 2019 and 2021 because of the disruptive impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, leaving the continent vulnerable to even more outbreaks of disease and facing a child survival crisis.
Hello, I'm Brian Flores.
And I'm Joylyn Ting for SCTC News. Virginia's Governor Glenn Youngkin recently signed a workplace protection bill that bans non-disclosure agreements regarding sexual assault and harassment in the workplace. This bill finds similarities with a federal law dubbed the Speak Out Act, which President Joe Biden enacted in December of last year. The General Assembly recently passed a law cracking down on retail theft, making it a felony. Those found guilty are eligible for up to 20 years in prison. The annual theft rate in Virginia is extremely high and continues to increase. Around $1.3 billion in merchandise is stolen annually in Virginia, and this bill aims to sharply decrease that. Human remains were found in Christiansburg and identified as Siegfried Holzer, who was reported missing in February. Police say Holzer's remains were found about a mile from his car.
The Virginia State Senator Ben Chafflin died from COVID-19 complications. The Russell County native represented the 38th district, which includes several southwest Virginia counties. The governor ordered the Virginia state flag to be lowered and flown at half-staff in the senator's honor. Schools across Virginia will get less money than planned for following a miscalculation from the Virginia Department of Education. Lawmakers say the problem can't be fixed. The problem stems from a $200 million mistake with an online tool that incorrectly overstated the amount of state aid given to local school divisions. That the folio also didn't reflect a change related to the recent grocery tax cut. If a new bill passed in the State House becomes a law, it will be a crime to attack a bus driver. The bill will put public transit operators under the same protection in Virginia alongside health care providers. Teachers and first responders. Last year in Richmond, there were nearly 40 attacks on Richmond buses. Stay here for a look at sports.
Hello and welcome to the SCTC News program. I'm Noah Buttram.
And I'm Georgia Verbel with this week's sports news.
The University of Connecticut took home their 5th NCAA men's basketball title after dominating the final March Madness game against San Diego State. It was a very long and competitive game, with each team using all their possible assets in attempts to win. In the end, the University of Connecticut had a little more fight in them, winning the game 76-59. The last shot was mid-air when the final buzzer went off, resulting in an erupting crowd at the end of it.
Babe Ruth's Polo Ground baseball bat sells for a record-breaking $1.8 million, the highest amount ever paid for a baseball bat. Babe Ruth smashed 59 home runs in 1921, breaking his own MLB record for the highest home runs in a season using the bat. Ruth has gone down as one of the greatest in history for the sport because of his record for the most home runs ever, 714, which was held for nearly 40 years. The bat was proved to be authentic and was matched to a photo of Babe Ruth, and is why it is the most expensive baseball bat in the world.
Russian sport authorities ruled that figure skater Kamila Valieva wasn't at fault for testing positive for a banned substance during the 2021 Olympic Games, which took place in Tokyo. The World Anti-Doping Agency said it's been informed by the Russia Anti-Doping Agency that its disciplinary tribunal ruled Valieva bore no fault or negligence. The World Anti-Doping Agency is trying for a 4-year suspension on Valieva. Valieva's career as a figure skater has been on hold for some time. Currently, she's only permitted to participate in domestic skating events.
Miami Dolphins star wide receiver Tyreek Hill says he's likely to retire after finishing the current contract for 2025. Hill is considered to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, and after coming off to one of the best seasons yet, he plans to quit sooner than many people expected. Hill is 29 years old and has been playing in the NFL for 7 years. In an interview, Hill says that he plans on going into the gaming scene and creating his own gaming team after he retires.
Olympic swimmer Katie Ledecky's 9-year winning streak was broken by Summer McIntosh in the 2023 Pro Swim Series at Fort Lauderdale, Florida. The 16-year-old McIntosh faced off against Ledecky in the 200-meter freestyle, getting the win against the Olympic gold medalist by 0.83 seconds, setting a new record in the junior event with a time of 1:54.13. McIntosh states she looks up to Ledecky as a swimmer and is ecstatic about the win. Ledecky's last loss was in 2014, where she lost by 0.5 seconds, and now seeks vengeance against McIntosh, as they will be competing against each other in the next 2024 Summer Olympics in Paris.
Virginia Tech's women's basketball program has faced opposition from their opponents, but they appear to be on the up and up just in time for March Madness season. Despite their varying degrees of success, Hokies coach Kenny Brooks has been attributed to the team's recent winning streak. That's all for this week's sports news on the SCTC News program. I'm Georgia Verbel.
And I'm Noah Buttram. Up next, we have Nadia with the weather.
Hello, I'm Nadia Brebino, your local weather forecaster. 3 days of heavy rain in South Florida caused flooding. High winds and tornadoes from Miami-Dade to Broward County down to the Keys. In Fort Lauderdale, 25 inches of rain fell in one day. Parts of those areas were impassable. The Fort Lauderdale airport was shut down due to the extreme storms. Climatologists warn that we need to be prepared in case an El Niño occurs. Climate models around the globe continue to warn of a potential El Niño development later this year, a pattern of ocean warnings in the Pacific that can increase the risk of catastrophic weather events around the globe. A senior research scientist at the U.S. National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration says, historically, El Niños tend to come along every 4 years or so. Over the past week, we have had some beautiful weather, so let's see what the next few days have in store for us. Today is going to be cloudy. There is a slight chance of rain. There's going to be a low of 60 degrees and a high of 78. Saturday, we're expecting some scattered thunderstorms with a high of 78 and a low of 56. Sunday, we're expecting partly cloudy skies with a high of 84 and a low of 57.
With the new live-action Barbie movie in the works, 2 new pop-up restaurants will give people a chance to experience the world of Barbie. The Malibu Barbie Cafe will open in Chicago and New York later this spring. The cafe will be inspired by the groovy beachside energy of 1970s Malibu, California. The pop-up restaurant will feature all-day brunch, a variety of drinks, desserts, and more. The cafe will also have a cool beach vibe, exclusive merchandise, and a variety of signature photo moments for fans to interact with. The cost of the tickets start at $35 for children and $50 for adults, and they will go on sale on April 19th. Each ticket includes a reserved seat, dining time, and 1 entree. Women in their 80s traveled the world in just 80 days and became social media famous in the process. Ellie Hanby and Sandy Hayslip have been best friends for about 20 years. When both their husbands passed away a few years ago, they became even closer than before and started traveling together. Their adventure started on January 11th, visiting many places along the way, from Japan and Argentina to Antarctica and Finland. They even did many fun activities, such as going on a dog sled ride in the Arctic Circle, riding camels in Egypt, throwing coins in Rome's Trevi Fountain, and more. The pair have become nearly internet famous with their travel videos, gaining more than 800,000 likes on TikTok and gaining about 43,000 followers. Now that the two are safely back home in Texas, they hope that other people will be inspired to go on adventures of their own. Up next, we have a story about a local high school student from our contributor, Paulo Gonzalez.
Hello, I'm Paulo Gonzalez with this week's entertainment news. As we enter a new season, as well as the second quarter of the fiscal year, many film studios over the past week have released trailers for their upcoming summer blockbuster films. From Beatles to Barbies, here's a rundown of some of the most anticipated summertime movies coming to a theater near you. Indie director and actor Greta Gerwig helms the colorful and charming movie Barbie, based on the toy line of the same name by Mattel. Warner Bros. Discovery released a second teaser trailer for Barbie this past Tuesday, showcasing a hyperpop world of Barbies and Kens. The trailer promises quirky dialogue and confusing romance. The movie has an ensemble cast including Margot Robbie, Ryan Gosling, Issa Rae, Simu Liu, Michael Cera, and more. Barbie is slated for a theatrical release on July 21st.
I will beat both of you off at the same time.
Beach both of us off?
Nobody's gonna beach anyone off.
Sharing this July 21st release date is Oppenheimer, a biographical film based on J. Robert Oppenheimer, a theoretical physicist involved in the Manhattan Project and World War II. Oppenheimer is directed by Christopher Nolan and is confirmed to be his longest project, sitting at a 2-hour and 30-minute runtime. Like Barbie, Oppenheimer has an ensemble cast, including Cillian Murphy, who plays the titular lead, Robert Downey Jr., Florence Pugh, Rami Malek, and more. DC Studios, the new film and television division run by director James Gunn, will release its first movie set in their new cinematic universe with Blue Beetle. DC Studios released this trailer for the movie this past Monday. Based on the comic book character of the same name, Jaime Reyes is a teenager living in the fictional Palmyra City. There, he intercepts a scarab that gives him an alien superpowered exosuit. Actor Xolo Maridueña plays the titular character, and he stars with George Lopez and Susan Sarandon. Blue Beetle is directed by Angel Soto and is slated for release on the 18th of August. Columbia and Sony Pictures Animation is slated to release a sequel to the 2018 Oscar-winning movie Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse with Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Sony Pictures recently dropped a trailer for the sequel this past Tuesday. Continuing the arc of Spider-Man Miles Morales, he finds himself against an entire council of Spider-People and a supervillain known as the Spot. Actor Shamik Moore, Jake Johnson, and Haley Steinfeld reprised their roles for the first film, while Oscar Isaac, Issa Rae, and Daniel Kaluuya joined the cast as other variants of the Spider-Man character. Despite initial delays due to COVID-19, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse will finally release in theaters on the 2nd of June. Now we're going to wrap up tonight's edition with an editorial by Lexi Rosas.
Hi, and welcome to Viewpoint, our station's programs where members of the community have a voice. Today's topic is the negative effects of weight loss medicine by Lexi Rosas.
Nowadays, people prioritize their body images over their own health. So much so that people are willing to take medication if that means to lose weight. But is this the best solution? The medicine that people are using is supposed to help them lose weight, but this has been proven almost useless. Even if someone is taking these medications, they still need to keep a healthy diet and exercise to lose or maintain weight. People are taking these medications to avoid those activities. So all this medicine is doing is causing addiction and in some cases eating disorders. I find this so sad because weight does not equal health. Studies show that half of people who have diabetes stop taking these medications within the first year and 70% of people in 2 years. Plus, when you stop taking the medication, the opposite of what it's supposed to do happens. So, if you pause your routine of taking the medicine, you will end up gaining weight. It gets you addicted, and then when you want to quit, does the opposite of what you want it to. Professionals have compared this to the recent opioid epidemic. With all that being said, is medication the best way to lose weight? Absolutely not. It is not only dangerous, but is also ineffective. If you really want to lose weight, put in the work.